Hi, my name is Caitlin Weldon, and this is my honors project for Intro to Cultural Geography. This is spring of 2017, and I'm going to talk about the cultural impacts of globalization. So, the first thing I want to talk about is popular culture, and the practices, attitudes, and preferences held in common by large numbers of people and considered to be mainstream. Some examples of popular culture include music, video games, TV shows, cars, and clothing. Popular culture is heavily influenced by mass media, including TV broadcasting, the motion picture industry, the internet, and traditional forms of book and newspaper publishing. This slide shows several examples of popular culture. Popular culture can be related to time, place and region, and specific cultures. This previous slide shows examples of the Monkees, who were popular in the 60s, I Dream of Jeannie, which was also another TV show, and in the 80s, the Rubik's Cube was created, as well as Mr. Potato Head. And in the 90s, we had Saved by the Bell and all kinds of other things. This right here is an example of newspaper popular culture, as Dennis the Menace and Mr. Wilson are always causing trouble. Related to place, an example is Eskimo Joe's in Oklahoma. If you were to walk into any place in Oklahoma and see an Eskimo Joe's shirt, you would know that's popular and relevant to Stillwater. Another example is Hara Days in my hometown. Anyone in Hara you mention, they're going to know exactly what you're talking about. But if you were to get out of Oklahoma or out of Hara, nobody would know what that was. Popular culture can also be related to cultures. In the 60s, American culture drastically affected the European culture, and there's evidence of that still today. Walmart is another example of globalization. The first Walmart opened in the small town of Rogers, Arkansas in 1962. Walmart is a rare example of a company that expanded through reverse hierarchical diffusion, growing from a single small town location to a multinational corporation with more than 10,000 stores in 27 countries. These stores are typically located in cities or metropolitan areas. Walmart has branched out to perform different services and has forced many small businesses to shut down. For example, when they added the AutoZone or the grocery department. This map shows the diffusion of Walmart stores by decades, starting in 1960 and ending in 2006. You can see right here, it started in Arkansas and has diffused all throughout the country and around the world. Walmart has also been able to capitalize on different economies. For example, the neighborhood market is usually located in a high-end neighborhood and is a very fancy convenience store. And Sam's Club is where you can buy things in bulk. And they are usually located in metropolitan areas, and many club teams use these as fundraisers to buy in bulk, and it's just cheaper. Homogenization is the next topic I want to cover. According to the homogenization thesis, globalization makes cultural taste, beliefs, and practices converge and become more alike. Placelessness was coined by Edward Ralph in the 1970s, before globalization was actually termed itself. His essay was titled Place and Placelessness. The three subcategories of homogenization are McDonaldization, Americanization, and Coca-Colanization. McDonaldization refers to the standardization of eating habits, specifically through the provision of fast food eaten on the go out of styrene packages or paper wraps. These pictures show how much McDonald's has spread throughout the world. All the countries in red have McDonald's located within them. In the blue, they do not. Americanization is the diffusion of American brands, values, and attitudes throughout the world. There are a couple of quotes from Americanism and Americanization by Mel Van Elteren that I would like to present. Americanization most usefully refers to the fundamental reference points of a culture and the extent to which they can be located in the United States rather than in the culture itself. Not just cultural change, but what it has transmitted. Not just the measure of American content, but its impact, if any, on behaviors and ways of thinking. Richard White. This slide also shows examples of popular culture in America, being Mickey Mouse, Disney, Apple, MTV, Nike, the Statue of Liberty, McDonald's, Starbucks, and Coca-Cola. Most Americans would recognize these brands and would not have an issue identifying them. Another quote from Van Elteren says, "Americanization, in all of its manifestations and interpretations, refers to the real or purported influence of one or more forms of Americanism on some social entity, material object, or cultural practice. Processes of this kind have taken and are still taking place inside and outside the United States. The social entity can be a group of people or social category, a region, a nation, or a transnational world or culture that goes beyond this geographic scale, a specific cultural area, civilization, or even the globe as a whole." This is another example of Americanization. This picture includes several things that make America what it is. It has several iconic cities, and I just really liked it. The next topic is Coca-colonization. This term implies that the hegemony of multinational corporations creates a set of power relations similar to those that exist between a country and its colonies, producing a kind of imperialism. Coca-Cola was founded in 1892 by Asa Griggs Candler. The first product was actually created in 1886 by a pharmacist named John Smith Pemberton in Columbus, Georgia. The term Coca-colonization became popular in the 1950s. This picture shows Coke hiding behind the world and feeding the world. This picture is a global map that shows all the countries that contain Coca-Cola. And as you can see, there are only 2 countries right here and here that do not have access to Coca-Cola. This product has truly spread throughout the world. Another quote I would like to use by Van Elteren states, "Besides making a direct geographical connection with the United States or a specific part thereof, this can also entail some syndicos or metonymic reference, that is, a figure of speech consisting of the substitution of the name of one thing for that of another that can be an attribute or an association, or the use of a particular metaphor, a figure of speech, more specifically, a trope based on a comparison, such as Coca-colonization, McDonald'sization, Disneyfication, to refer to one process in question." My next topic is polarization. Those who subscribe to the polarization thesis believe that rather than homogenizing the world, globalization has unleashed powerful separatist forces that have heightened concerns about security, not just for individuals, but also for countries. For example, terrorism and airport security after 9/11 was greatly increased, and the effects are still felt today. I'd like to use the quote by Andrew Barlow that states, "The world is not so much flat as it is polarized, with people retreating from larger frames of reference and gravitating toward coherent but isolating nationalism, ethnic group identification, and religious fundamentalism." According to Barlow, financial and economic integration has weakened the role of states and is seriously threatening national welfare systems, particularly in the United States. From Barlow's perspective, we are facing an ironic truth about market globalization rather than creating more cosmopolitan and global connections among people. Globalization is creating conditions in which people, feeling threatened, retreat from one another. In its current form, globalization does not take into account the richness of human diversity. It ignores the harshness of exploitation and social inequality and contributes to social and ecological tragedies. American society is exposed to deep and various faults threatening its cohesion and its stability. This quote can be found in The Impact of Globalization on the United States, Volume 1, Culture and Society by Michelle Berthoud. Neolocalism was a term coined by geographer James R. Shortridge to describe a renewed interest in sustaining and promoting the uniqueness of a place. Another definition is the seeking out of regional culture and reinvigoration of it in response to the uncertainty of the modern world. Globalization is the idea that global and local forces interact and that both are changed in the process. I would like to use the quote from Doing Cultural Geography by Pamela Shermer Smith. Everywhere, the local is becoming globalized, and the global is becoming localized, giving birth to another of those neologisms that attempt to describe the distinctive results of contemporary restructuring processes, the concept of globalization. Another definition could be used states, the process by which people and a local place mediate and alter regional, national, and global processes. I would also like to talk about placelessness. It can be defined as the loss of uniqueness of a place in the cultural landscape so that one place looks like the next, as stated by geographer Edward Ralph. It describes both an environment without significant places and the underlying attitude which does not recognize significance in places. It reaches back into the deepest levels of a place, cutting roots, eroding symbols, replacing diversity with uniformity, and experiential order with conceptual order. At its most profound, it consists of a pervasive and perhaps irreversible alienation from places as the homes of men. He who has no home now will not build one anymore, Rilke declared. One last final quote about globalization that I would like to use is by Van Elteren in Americanism and Americanization, and it states, "It is more or less taken for granted that in many forms of globalization, that is, the numerous interplays between global tendencies of cultural homogenization and local tendencies of cultural heterogenization and differentiation, hybrid forms of culture predominate to such an extent that it has become virtually impossible anywhere to recognize a domineering, let alone hegemonic American influence." In conclusion, the impacts of globalization can be felt all throughout society and all around the world, and you can't really look anywhere and not see its effects, whether that be on your street, in your town, in your state, or in your country. It can be felt everywhere.